All right, I'm going to be going live. Um, we're going to talk about we're going to talk about how to get your business off the ground. We're going to talk about how to get your business off the ground, and if maybe some people will come, some people may not come, but I can tell you, success sometimes is a lonely trail because while people are, going with the herd, the successful people have to take risk and try things a different way. So I'm going to give some people some time to come on to here in this video. What I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about some really like the biggest issue that I see people having when it comes to getting their business off the ground. It's like a blind spot. So I'm going to talk about the blind spot, and I'm going to talk about my 3-step formula that I developed that has helped me build my first company that I started in 1990, and also my newer companies, like the foundation of building the marketing side, the generation that's the generation of revenue or sales. How that right there is the same is what I did with my company when I first started in 1990. It looks different because technology is different, but the actual um process, I would say, is similar, the same. And so now let me talk about some of the blind spots that people have when they start a business. This is one of the most uh it's like it's a left out thing, so I'm gonna invite some people on here. It's a left out uh uh it's like a blind spot in people's mind. They don't know what they don't know. But a lot of people, when they go to start a business, they think because like they were perfect at their job, they knew what they were doing, they know what they were doing for their job, and so they're thinking, if I leave that job and start a business doing even the same thing, let's just say that they're gonna just copy you. And I've actually had that happen with some employees where they just copy you. They're like, just Steve is making money, I'm gonna leave so I can make some money. And what ended up happening is that they ran into the blind spots. And you might be saying, well, Steve, what is the blind spot? What do you mean by the blind spot? The blind spot is they don't know really what it took to be able to make the business work. They did not know what it took to make the business work. And when they started the business, they started running into those roadblocks. And I'm going to invite some people on here real quick. But they started running into those roadblocks, and they were like, "Well, how can I? Why is it? Why am I struggling in the business that I was just at, that I used to be at? Why are they able to make money and I'm not able to make money?" Let me just tell people I'm on live on YouTube to help you grow your business. Um, so they're like, why am I not able to make my business work? And especially when they've worked for someone. I had this like I said earlier, I had this experience. Let me just say, I had this experience with some workers. They wanted to start their own thing, and I'm never against that. I'm never against people starting their own thing. And uh but I understand that just because you start your own thing, there's going to be some blind spots that you need to be aware of, because the I, as the business owner, used to do. Now I didn't tell them this because, they probably wouldn't listen, But I would, there's blind spots, and people need to understand that those blind spots will make it hard for you to be successful in whatever business you choose. It's going to make it hard. So when if you're working for a company and you say, okay, I see this company making money. I've worked for them. They're paying me a certain amount of money. I want to go and start my own business now, doing the same thing, doing the exact same thing. Those blind spots are going to come up, and here are the blind spots is, and I'll use a telemarketing example. There was a gentleman, he was in telemarketing. He was like, hey, I'm going to start my own business and sell my own product because I've been working on the telemarketing floor for all of these years, and I know that I can sell. I know I can sell. So in your mind, what would you think is the blind spot, the what he doesn't even know he doesn't know thing would be the first problem that he could potentially have with starting a business? Remember, he had been a salesperson, did very good with sales for a company. Now he's going to go and start his own business selling the same thing, but it's all going to go to him. What would be the blind spot that he doesn't even know he doesn't know? Well, the blind spot is that the individual does not know about how they had to market to even get people on the phone with them. So, yes, he had people to call all the time. All he had to do is come into work, hit those phones. And that's what he was used to doing for all of those years. And then when he went out and started his own business, he knew he could sell. And so the first thing he was thinking was, okay, if I could just get more people to talk to be able to make those sales. And then he had to say, okay, well, how do I get more people to talk to? One of the first ways that most people would think is to go out and buy a whole bunch of people's names and email addresses and just blow them up. You see that online, you see that in a whole bunch of different places. I even went through that. I remember even before email was even prevalent, we used to fax the hell out of people. So you would just think that I'm going to fax a million people and somebody's going to buy. And I remember back in when I used to sell 1-900 numbers back in, I think it was about 96, 97. I used to sell those 1-900 numbers. Some of you might be too young to know what those numbers are. It was like psychic hotline, advice line, dating line, and people would call and they would get charged per minute. I think California Psychics does something similar, but they take the payment over the phone. And so I used to fax out to all these people, and then email came out, and I used to fax out email out to a million people, and then they would start shutting down the fax number. They would start shutting down the email because it's just spamming the hell out of people. So that was a blind spot with me, is that if you don't know how to bring in people to even look at what you had to offer, you're automatically gonna be in trouble right out of the gate. You're going to be in trouble. And so what people start to do is they start to either buy leads, they start to do all of these things, hoping to be able to get, like that example, that telemarketer, just get people on the phone. I know if I can get people on the phone, they're going to buy my product or service. That's what they be thinking. And but the problem is that the company that they used to work for when they were a telemarketer, they used to qualify those leads. They used to run ads. They used to do all types of things to bring people to them to be able to call each day. So that's the difference. That's the blind spot. And so with any business that you start, it does not matter if you start a restaurant. I've had people who left one restaurant and they went over to another restaurant with someone. And I mean, to started their own restaurant. And the first problem that they had, they called me on the phone. Steve, I need to place an ad. This is when I had my print advertising business. I need to place an ad. I need to get customers. It's slow. The furniture store, all of this stuff is slow. And so what I would tell them is that you got to run ads And from those ads, you generate leads. From those leads, you present your whatever you're selling, your product or service to those individuals, and that's the system. Like that's the three-step system. And what I find is that a lot of people start skipping around. They'll start their business and they know what they're doing. So it's not about a person not understanding how to do what they need to do in their business. The problem comes about on bringing enough people to even offer what you sell or what you do, product, service, whatever it is, to the people. That's where the problem is. And I see a lot of people who start a business either coming from a company where they were a great employee, but they want to start their own thing, and there's nothing wrong with that. But that blind spot, that they don't even know that they don't know, is that that company had a process to bring people to even be able to allow them to do what they were going to do for their business. And so business owners, they start to scramble, buying leads, SEO, posting on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, doing all of these things. And that's busy work. There's nothing wrong with that. That's busy work. But there has to be like bottom line. And I've been in the advertising and marketing and sales business since 1990. And nothing on this planet, don't believe it. We just saw the football game last night that had commercials up to you know what. You see commercials on TV, you see commercials, you hear commercials on the radio, you see people advertising products and services on online on the different platforms. Advertising is it. But what people get confused is they think that they have to convince someone to buy from their advertisement. Now, there are companies, people who are very good at direct response that can do that, but 99.9% of the people cannot sell someone something on the first hit. 99.9, I would say 99.99999, a whole bunch cannot sell anyone on the first hit. It's very hard, especially with the world that we live in, with the scammers, with companies who make big promises and don't come through, with other companies. And you could be great at your business, but the person down the street or the person in another state that sells the same thing you sell, they ruin it for the other business owners. So their lack of credibility, their scamming and all of that stuff makes people, when they hear that product or service, they get skeptical. Just even though it has nothing to do with your business, they just get skeptical. What's the first thing that comes to our mind when something is presented to us that we're not sure about? We just jump to the word no. Like you could be shopping, and you shopping for a dress shirt, and person come to you, and you going there for a dress shirt. Even if you decide to say, yes, I'm looking for this type of shirt, I would bet in most people's mind they're going to say no first to that person, because it's easier to say no and not get into something than to say yes and then to maybe get into something that you don't know fully about or that you want to get into. And so with all of that happening with other people, other businesses, the number one way to, number one, not worry about word of mouth, and not worried about word of mouth too, not to worry about how that person felt when they got out of bed and then they said something about your business. Even if they did have a good experience with it, they arguing with their wife, and then someone asked about, you, do you know someone who does this service? And they're like, yeah, this person does it, but they come at them, because of what they're mad at something that happened at home. So you don't want to depend on word of mouth. Word of mouth is like the icing on the cake. But we want to talk about the cake, like the ingredients. What makes successful businesses, what makes businesses thrive is advertising. And you don't have to be everywhere. Don't be fooled. All you have to do, let me give you the advice that was given to me on a Facebook post, and I still haven't found this person. If I see this post again, I will make sure to give this person the credit because he was not selling anything. He just said, uh, pick a platform to advertise on, learn to generate leads from that platform, and then learn to close sales from that platform. And then that was it for the post. I don't even think anybody even liked the post except for me. But when I read that, it was like something that just like I my life flashed in front of me. And the number one thing that came to my mind was, how did I build my first company that I started in 1990? I, me and my wife built that, and this was before cell phones and all of that. We would go down the street and we would go store to store, and then we would write down, what did that store say? Did we sell them or not sell them? If we didn't sell them, we had wrote down when could we go back. Like we were just like in a way nurturing our leads. And then if other stores, when we sold them, what did you say to get that sale at that store? This is what we were doing when we were knocking on doors. Me and my wife going store to store, selling our advertising publication. And we're talking about 1990, a long, long time ago. Now it's so easy to do it because you got all the social media and all of that stuff right now that you can advertise on. That stuff didn't even exist back then, but it still was the same. So I had that flashback when he had said those three things. I was like, that's exactly what we did when we built our advertising publication. We had started from zero, no customers, and we didn't even have experience in that business, but we did have a desire to not be working our jobs that we were working at that time. But it was about advertising, lead nurturing, and selling to the businesses, but it could be to people. So now something that when I've coached people or I've talked to people, business owners, I started getting this sense from them about why they were not advertising the way that they thought they should be advertising. It was like this split personality. Have you ever seen the commercials? Like there's some, I'll talk about, use attorneys for example. I've done advertising for attorneys, and in my area I did some for several attorneys, but one comes to mind, Tony De Los Santos, and I ran his ads for years. And what we did, we actually were like putting images and stuff on his ads, and this was in print, that would just get people's attention. And then you'll have other attorneys that had came to me and they just wanted this straight like phone book looking ad. And I was like, that's not going to get people's attention. And I would try to explain to them, when people are flipping through the pages, this is what, and this is the same if they're flipping through social media now or typing in on Google, wherever, on TikTok, is that you got to get their attention. But you can't sell people at the beginning. They don't want to be sold, but they want to buy stuff. It's crazy. We're all built that way. We want to buy some stuff, but we don't want to be sold, which means that we want to do stuff on our terms. And so what we did is we said, okay, we know people need your personal injury services. And he was also doing criminal defense. We know that they need your services, but we got to get their attention first. Once we get their attention, we send them through what they were calling his office at that time, but you could do this with email and text now also. But they would call his office. I said, what is the first thing that your assistant, secretary, whoever answers the phone, what's the first thing they're going to start asking them or saying to them? Because that's very important, because the words and the way it came out of their mouth could be the determining factor on them saying that they want to use his services as an attorney or deciding to go to another office or make another call. So it's very important. But going back to earlier, these are the blind spots that business owners, people who start their own business, they don't even understand those little bitty blind spots. Most of it is they don't understand that you're not trying to sell people from the beginning. Second is that you got to nurture people. Even if people are calling on the phone, you got to nurture that call from the beginning. And if you don't do that right, if it's you answering the phone or if it's someone else answering the phone, right there, and you're not trying to sell them at the beginning, you're trying to see what they need. Let them do the talking, and then you'll be able to know how your product or service will either fit them or not fit them. And when I did that for him, his business just blew up. I think I had worked with him for about 15 years before we had decided to not publish a publication anymore, and he moved online. But that's the thing. So let's talk about the 3 steps. And if you have a business right now, these 3 steps, you just like that guy that I didn't have to buy anything. Right now, I'm about to give you the secret sauce without you buying anything. If you could just get a pen and paper out and just write this down, this is like it will, it's not sexy. It's not going to be something that's like that'll blow your mind, but if you do it right, your results will blow your mind over time. There's no get rich quick. So now let me tell you the first thing. The first thing that you got to get over, the first thing you got to get over, just like I said, the one attorney was like, I don't think I want to have an ad with a crash and an ad with, I remember Tony used to be on his ads with his hands like this and like this in his suit and stuff. He's like, I don't want to do that. And then, the most that I was able to get some of the attorneys that didn't want to go that far is they would be on there with their arms crossed. You know how those attorney ads, they would be on there like that. But I was like, hey, you got to get over your subconscious void, that little voice in the back of your mind that stops you from being creative with your advertisement. I was looking on Facebook the other day how many ads for just one of my businesses that I've ran, different variations. And it was mainly because before I found the one that worked. Because when I found the one that worked, it just runs solidly day after day, month after month, year after year. I don't even have to really change it. When I refresh it, it's really just the same ad. But you got to get over that feeling that what you had to offer in yourself is not good enough. I know you're not going to say that you're not good enough. People don't will never, some people say it, but most people will not outwardly say I'm not good enough. But I see this a lot, even with my attorneys, with medical doctors that I help with their own practices, uh, grocery store owner. It's crazy. People have this quiet voice in the back of their mind that makes them kind of creep, even if their business is even moving forward, that they kind of creep forward. And it's because they had this subconscious thing, that this voice is very silent, holding them back. And the reason why it's holding them back is because they get a feeling. So when they do something that they're not used to doing, something that makes them kind of stand out a little bit more than what they're used to, this feeling goes through their body and it makes them pull back, and it makes them do things the same way as everybody else, because they like, if they're doing it that way, then I'll do it that way. And I got over that. I got over that early. And the way I, you want this, the way I got over it, when I was out there going store to store, and in a sense, I was my own advertisement. Is that the first time I got turned down, I looked at myself and I was like, I need to be dressed very professional. I was only 20 years old at that time, but I was like, I better get professional, because before I open my mouth, they're looking at me. And then I could be saying what I think about myself by the way that I'm dressed, by the way that I'm presenting myself. But even with online ads, this is crazy. This is why that little voice is like really loud, because even though times have changed and you can simply post an ad online where nobody does, they don't say, maybe they put some comments or something, but people are even afraid to even look different with that. The majority of business ads that you see online are just bland. I'm not talking about jumping off of cliffs and doing stuff crazy. What I'm talking about is just testing, 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 testing until you get an ad that is bringing in leads. That's all you got to do. And some of the times you might have to do something a little bit different. Let me tell you the little bit different that I had to do when I found the ad that worked for me for my one business, my credit business. You can see the credit millionaire sign on there. Let me tell you my secret on this one. This is honest to God. If you're religious, Quran, whatever. This is exactly what I did. I tested ads that had some images, score jumped up, this, that, all of that. So that was me allowing myself to just go through the process. And then I hit it. I had an ad with this pen. This is one of my pens, like them, them expensive pens. And I was sitting at my desk, computer screen, me with the pen, piece of paper down there. Damn ad blew up. Blew up. The ad blew up. I'm just telling you, that ad has ran. The same ad. I got a beard and stuff now, and I still didn't even change that ad. I didn't have a beard and stuff at that time. That ad blew up, and that ad still runs. That same picture, same ad has been running since 2013 on Facebook. Since 2013, I was looking at how much money I spent on just that one ad. I think it might be close to $400,000 on one ad. Another thing is that ad, because it resonates, they got this little bitty insider thing that Facebook tells you, and they say you need to change your image because it's like it's getting worn out. And how do they know it's getting worn out? Because people are not reacting to your ad. Never. To this day, I have not gotten that warning from Facebook. I have not got that. So for me, testing, hit it. Now, just because that ad hit it, this is what I say a winner is from the ad, is that ad generates leads. I'm not selling on that. I'm offering or telling people what I've done for my other clients. And if they're interested in learning about what I've done because they potentially need that service, they can click through and then they would go to see what I offer. But between there, this is what I did is I generate leads. And that is like the golden nugget, because remember what I said earlier, the people are not trying to not do business with you. They're skeptical, not because you're not good at your business. They're skeptical because the person down the street, person in another state, person overseas, person somewhere else has been scamming people, and they make people equate. They equate that with that. That's the thing. They say, this is what they say. They're like, hey, if a person is in this business, that means that other people in that business is just like them. That's how our brain works. It's like it makes us be able to get through life a lot quicker and easier. And so that's why you need to do what I call lead nurture. It's been around forever. Some people tell you to skip it. I would never skip generating leads, because when you generate leads, they're on your playing field. They're on your playground. You can send messages to them in a way that you would like to send it to them, that the other platforms may not allow you to speak to them that way. Now, I'm not talking about saying things that you shouldn't be saying, but what I'm saying is that if you own the platform, you're going to be limited. When they become a lead and you get their name, email, phone number, you can call them and talk to them. You can email them consistently to let them know that you're not a scam artist, not here today, gone tomorrow. You can text them. You can do all. It just opens up the door. And then that's step two. And from doing step two, something that happened to me from doing step two, which is lead nurturing, name, email, phone number, is for one of my companies, we started selling people that I used to have the sales reps call. So imagine that you figure out how to run ads. From those ads, you're generating leads, name, email, phone number, or whatever data you want them to fill out. And then that goes into a lead nurturing process that and all of this has to be done the right way, but I'm just giving you the basics on it. Lead nurturing campaign, and then it goes to your sales page, to your offer page, or your appointment page. But what I had learned after sending out, I had set up 5 Yeah, 5 emails separated by 3 days apart. Because I wasn't gonna sit there and write no 30 days email. And this is way before AI. We're talking about 2013. It was way before anything was out there to assist you in making emails. So it's a lot easier now. But um, after 7 days, so it means after 3 emails, it was one, two, three. After the second email, I got people who had signed up and paid their money without my sales reps having to call them. Imagine that. So I had actually graduated into the making money while you sleep uh, uh, business or feeling, not business because we still call people, but imagine making money while you sleep. I done got so used to making money while I sleep. I wake up, the first thing that I'm doing. One of my businesses, uh, they I get a text that for every sale overnight. So I'm looking at that, and then my other business, it has emails that go to it, and then my other company, those are leads, and I just want to see what leads that would potentially qualify for that company, and that's a high ticket in the healthcare industry. I'm talking about making 50 to $100,000 for one sale. So if I get one lead that's qualified from my advertisements, you better bet I'm like antenna way up. But that's what started to happen with that lead nurturing. So now the next step in the 3 steps is the sales page or appointment page, because you want to give people the opportunity to either buy or to set an appointment or whatever you need them to do. But that's the whole thing. That's really, if you get those 3 things set, and then you just continually make it better. You continually, if you're not generating leads from your ad, change the ad. If you're generating leads from your ad, but people aren't responding, people aren't answering the phone, people aren't doing things, then you need to make your follow-up emails better, your follow-up text better, and your phone calls. You need to make sure that your people are calling out, because that was one of the problems that I had ran into when I started building my sales team. My first 2 guys, they hit the phone, the 2 guys I started with. But when I started adding people who called out, they was like, kind of faking me. Like I even had a guy that was kind of pushing the button, like he was making calls. I was like, what the? When I found out what he was doing, I was like, what the hell are you doing? So when the call went out, he would just push the button because he knew I was checking. I can look on my screen to see how many calls are going out and how many people he talked to and everything. So what he started doing was just make the call, and then he would hurry up and click before the person even had a chance to answer. And at that time, before I got educated on how that phone system worked, I learned that he was just hanging up the calls. But those are things that you start to work on as after you get your 3 steps built and you got something going. Now, just imagine if you got, I mean, just think about this. If you did that process and you were able to get consistent appointments, if you did that process and you was able to get consistent sales, we're not talking about over and above. We're just talking about some, people are buying from you. All you got to do is, what would you have to do? Let me just ask you that question. If you have your 3 steps in place, you got your ads that's working good, people are clicking it, people are clicking through and they're becoming a lead, you're getting the leads, people are clicking your email follow-ups, or they're answering your calls, texts, going over, making appointments, or buying the product. What is the next thing that you'd have to do is just increase your ad budget, because you got the foundation, and then you can start working on different things to make it better instead of like going out there buying all these different things. I was talking to a business associate. She owns a print shop. She prints my books for one of the books that I have. This is for one of my companies, and she prints them. And I remember telling her, I was like, uh, "What are you doing for with your follow up? Like, How are you?" Trying to grow your business. And she was like, well, I got this active campaigns, and then I got this text thing, and I'm thinking about doing something where these people are going to call from overseas. Like all of these, and I'm like, wait, hold on a second. You don't need to get all of that stuff. Just whichever one. Like I don't tell people what to do. Just like that person didn't tell me go to Facebook, or TikTok wasn't around at that time, but he didn't say go to Google, or he didn't say go to this other place. He just said pick a platform. And so what I told her, I said, you should pick a I suggest that you should pick a platform and then learn to generate leads on there. And I said, if you want to know my opinion, I think that you should pick Google because you're in the print business. She prints like papers, books, banners, all of that stuff. I'm like, you should just go on Google and you should run ads, different ads for people who are searching for what you have to offer, and have them call you. Just do call only campaign. Make sure the person who answers that phone knows what they're doing, that they can help them, that they won't put them off. She did that, and guess what she found out? That the person who was answering the phone was losing business for her. I said, you got to, if you can record or just listen in. And she had something on her phone system where she could listen in, or I think she's always there. So she probably just listened in. But she said, I listen to this person. It's like I wouldn't do business with me if I called. So this is another thing. She knows how to do the business. She knows her business, but she did not know how to bring in. And I won't say she didn't know how to bring in business because she does. She's done very well, but she's trying to get over that hump. And to get over that hump, the thing that she was missing is that she can't be the one that generates that business. She has to put something in place that will do that job for her. And that's what your advertising is. Your advertising is an employee that will work for you 24/7, say it the same way, no attitude, do it, never be late, anything, all the time. Compare that person or that thing, that ad that will do it on time, 24/7, all the time, no attitude, never late, all of that stuff. Compare that to the word of mouth, wake up on the wrong side of the bed, argue with their spouse, whatever, and somebody asks them about your business. And also they don't work for you. So it's like they're not obligated even to talk about your business. So compare that. And then when you try to scale, what are you going to do? Go get some more word of mouth people to scale? And then let's just say that you want to sell your business, that you want to sell your business. People don't buy businesses. I learned this. I got, for one of my companies, the health company, I've had very good offers. And the reason why they made very good offers is because of system in place. Actually, for all of the businesses that I have right now, they would know that there's a mechanism in place that doesn't need me to be able to generate leads for the business, and as long as they kept everything in place, would generate sales for the business, keep it consistent, keep it growing, and all they would have to do is make it better. That's what people. That's why people buy businesses. They want to buy a system, just like people buy McDonald's for a system, right? Hamburgers done a certain way, fries, all of that, everything set up. Well, when people buy small companies or medium size or large corporations, they're buying a system. And just because you're small or you're starting out does not mean that you shouldn't have that system up front, because having that marketing system up front would make someone want to buy your business, pay you more than what you think, simply because you have a system in place. Because the worst thing that they would want is to come into your business that they just paid you a lot of money for, and then all of the customers are gone, and then they find out that they needed you to push the business. They don't want to buy those type of business. They want a business where they could just come in there, keep it going like it is, and just make it better. That's what they want. So, hey, thank you for your time. I'm about to go into a short meeting. Hopefully, it won't last too long. But think about it. I want post some comments on here. Ask me some questions. I'd be interested in knowing what type of businesses you're in. A lot of people have written to me, and they would say, "Hey, I'm in a started an e-commerce business or started a delivery type business," and I'm just like, "Hey, let me tell me what you're doing." And they some of the times they kind of get caught off guard because I just ask them questions about what they're doing, and then I'm like, you should do what you want to do for your business. Like, I don't tell people what to do. That's the thing that I've learned from being in business all these years, is that when I'm asking people questions and they're telling me what they're doing for their business, I can automatically just say, well, this here goes some suggestions, here goes some suggestions, and then you can take what you think would work for your business, test it, and see what would happen. And that's what gets the best result, because you don't want to be told what to do. I don't want to be told what to do. Nobody wants to be told what to do. That's the way we are. And as humans, what we're basically doing throughout our lives is we're trying to find different versions of ourselves. We're always and when I say looking for ourselves, I'm not saying like you need to find yourself like some of these people talk about. What I'm saying is that we want to find and deal with people and do things that we like, and also deal with people that we like or that we have interest in. That's what we want to do. And that's really what business comes down to. If you really think about it, for business, I've had people say this. They're like, but before they can experience anything that you or I with our business has to offer them, unless they're at the dinner table, like they're getting ready to eat, and you still got to be careful with that, because people have screwed that up by the way the place might have looked dirty or something. But unless they can get an instant gratification, like eating a meal or something, the person what they're buying first is the image and who the business is. And if it's you running your business, like you're the face of your company, I'm the face of one of my companies, they're buying you first. If you're not the face of your company, they're buying the company first. So how can a person buy you first, or a company that doesn't even come into contact with you? For my company that I'm the face of, we sell in all 50 states. So obviously, I'm not in all 50 states. So how will people know, like, and trust your business, even if you're not the face of your business? Know, like, and trust your business if you're the face of your business. How do you get people to know, like, and trust you? The same way that you get people to know, like, and trust you now. If we met each other on the street, and let's not say on the street, let's just say that we were at a basketball game. I have I go to the Bucks games. I'm on the second row Bucks game, right at the end by the Bucks team where they sit. And when I'm at the game, obviously people next to me, or the person who one of the ushers sits right next to my wife at her seat. Like, when they, if you've seen it at the basketball games, when the game is going on, the ushers go and they sit down so they're not blocking people. And so we end up talking with each other. We talk to him. We talk to the people who have season tickets next to us, people in front of us, back of us, all of these different people that we come into contact with. And now I'm going to use the example of the ushers. Before my wife and I became season ticket holders, we would buy seats that were up, in the closer rows. And after a time period, we would walk down. Check this out. We would walk down, because you come down to the first floor, to the court floor, and would shake hands. I would extend my hand out to the usher, show him where we're at, because they want to make sure you're supposed to be on the floor. And then he would say, "Oh, you're over there this time," or well, first it was like, "You're over there," and then after they knew that we wasn't season ticket holders at that time, they would just look, and it was like, "Over there." Now, this is something that happened though after, like, I would say maybe about after 10 games, we would walk down there, and guess what? They recognized us. And guess what? They didn't even check where we were sitting. So at that time, after that, exposure, shaking hands, how you doing? Shaking hands, how you doing? Game after game after game, guess what happened? No like and trust. I even would say his name is Marshall. I'd say, how you doing, Marshall? And he would say, where you sit? He, instead of looking for the seats, he was like, where you at this time? He didn't even check. So he knows, likes, and trusts. And if I didn't have the floor seats, he could be letting me down there when I'm not supposed to be down there. Because until you go into the back area where they got all the free food and free drinks, everything. I don't drink, but I drink, regular stuff, uh, soda and stuff. Not even soda, water. I just drink water. My wife, she drinks soda. But everything is free: ice cream, popcorn, water. You don't pay for anything. And it has chicken wings, pizza, like everything is in there. This is a area that you can only that a limited amount of people can even be in, and you got to be on the floor. So, but he knew, like, and trust us. And something that I learned with email follow up, with text follow up, with just that simple type of follow up process. It doesn't matter what process you put in place for people to know, like, and trust you. The human mind works the same. The human mind, this is very important for getting people to know, like, and trust you. The human mind works the same. So if you see a person face to face over and over and over, the human mind looks at that the same way as if a person emailed you over and over and over and over and over again. It is crazy. It is a crazy phenomenon that we have. And the reason why that happens is because we had that lazy, they call it lazy brain. They call it complex equivalent. They're like, if a person, like, because we're thinking about ourselves. Remember, we're always looking for ourselves in a way through other people. So if a person is constantly telling you about something that you were interested in over and over and over, and even if it's just by email, one-way conversation, but they're talking about what you wanted, that just your mind, complex equivalence would be, this person cares about what I want. It's crazy. That's what complex equivalence is that a person in their own mind, because you focused on them, will think that you care about them, so they know, and they think that they know you. They like you because you cared about them, and they trust you because you kept contacting them. When I did that, knocked it out the ballpark. I did that on accident in 2013 with email. Texting wasn't available at that time for where you could have it automated. I was just emailing it. And I was using Aweber, and I'm not an affiliate of Aweber. That's the one that I recommend. I just simply set up 5 emails in there, separated them by 3 days apart. Over time, I added in there, and it was about 70 different emails that my potential clients, the leads who opted in from the ad, they would get one right away that would try to sell them. And then after that, it was just nurturing them. We've done this for people. We've helped people in that situation. We can help you. Look at the results, look at the testimonials, go back and take another look. You want to have get some help, you still interested, like whatever I could think about that could potentially be in that individual's mind, I would just put that in the email follow-up every 3 days. And like I said, after the first two emails that went out, there was seven. It was seven on the seventh day. So one went out right away, one went out 3 days later, so it was 3 emails. On the seventh day, third email, people started buying from that company without my sales reps talking to them. So I officially was making money while I slept. So I'm going to end it here. Go ahead and put what business you're in, put what roadblocks you have. If you think it's a mental roadblock, if you think that it's something that where it's like a money roadblock. You don't have the revenue. I'll share with you how my wife and I started that first company that became a multi-million-dollar company with just a $500 investment back in 1990, before all of this internet and all of that stuff was around. Yes, we invested $500 in that business, and that business fed our family and helped us buy into other businesses, start other businesses from the revenue from that business. So it's not about money, it's about the ideas. Thank you for your time. This is Stephen A. Williams with Making Money with Stephen A. Williams here on YouTube.